first, I just wanted to let you know you're the first person I'm interviewing for this. So so this is kind of our like
No pressure.
yeah, no pressure for either of us.
I'm just going to
um,
set the standard. That's all.
exactly. I'm sure it's gonna be a high bar. Um, so,
You
but
certainly haven't met the person.
I think everyone's awesome. I love all the people I follow on Facebook. It's really fun. um, I I'm wanting to treat this pretty casual, like basically just want to have a conversation with you. I don't want to be too formal, but I do want to be as thorough as your ideas deserve.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first, just well, before we get into your theory, can you tell me just what are the most important things for us to know about you? Where are you coming from? What do you do? What are you passionate about?
Uh, that's a heavy opener, but
Yeah.
no big deal. Uh, I I'm pretty ambiguous. I kind of shift
Mhm.
and change a lot. Recently, my focus has been kind of focusing internally and fixing some like generational trauma and breaking some cycles and kind of figuring myself out so I can break bad habits and patterns of behavior. But also on a broader scale, I'm very community focused. I have a small photography business as well as a bunch of other little odd jobs. And I try to use that business and my voice in the community to provide whatever help and assistance and promotion of progress and change that I can. Kind of limited on my scale as far as like what I can do because I have a whole litter of feral boy children and a house to maintain and all of that. But yeah, just internal focus and community are my biggest things. I just want to leave this earth knowing that maybe I did my part in making things a little bit better.
Absolutely. That's excellent. How I had seen that you've done photography for some people that I know, so I thought that was pretty cool. Do you see that? Have you been able to use that as a tool for those things that you care about, community building and such?
Yeah,
Photography.
surprisingly, in ways that I didn't know that I could use this tool. So, my original thought pattern was that I would donate my time and my skills in order to raise money for, different causes or things like that. But it ended up being a lot smaller. So, I have recently begun to focus primarily on photographing women. And the reason behind that is a lot of women are mothers and a lot of women suffer from body issues and they look at themselves not as they truly are. Our
Mm-hmm.
brains beat us up and our brains tell us that we're not worthy, we're not good enough, this is too big, this is too small, this scar is ugly, etc. So I like to work with women and I like to show them in a light that represents them as theirs. So my sessions are highly catered to kind of bring out the natural beauty in these women and to showcase them in their glory. And the big change happens when they see those photos. And the
Mm-hmm.
responses I've gotten from women have primarily been along the lines of, I did not know I looked like that. I did not
Oh,
know I was beautiful. And I feel empowered now. And I feel secure in my body more than I ever have. And I think I get a little emotional about this. You'll have to forgive
yeah.
me. But
Oh,
I just feel like making those small women in the community helps to kind of leave a generational legacy. The grandiose women will look back on those photos and an empowered female, and maybe that will inspire them to stand in their power and to do the things that the little voice inside their head always tells them they can't do.
that's amazing. That's
I ramble a bit. Sorry.
no, that's
Oh,
great.
thank you.
There's nothing to forgive. Like that's such an excellent like overview of what you do. Well, like the you don't often you don't often see people be able to articulate so well why they feel what they're doing is important.
Mm. No, I didn't at first. I mean, I was just out there with the camera, like, "Hey, I'm another white chick with a camera. Let me take your picture. I don't care what it's of." But once I
Right.
started doing, you know, I did a domestic violence project, and after that, it was kind of like, "Oh, this is what I'm."
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Um, I mean, the camera is a very powerful tool, and to bring it. Oh, sorry. Are you?
Hmm.
You might have cut out for a second. It's a powerful tool in that. Oh gosh, there's so many problems. My computer's freaking out. I apologize.
That's no, that's all right.
Um,
This is the.
what I was gonna say to pull us into the topic is just that I think the camera is such a great tool because it's perspective. Like it is such a pure representation of, hey, like all the world, everything I'm taking a picture of like already existed. It's just you might not have looked at it in the way that I know how to look at it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
right.
It's called the eye, and each
Yeah.
photographer has their own eye, and that's something that I really appreciate about it because not a lot of people take it seriously as an art medium.
Hmm.
And then just like with any other, hey honey, I'm doing an interview. This is my husband Doug.
Nice to meet you, Doug.
So with photography, you know, just like with any other creative medium, there's a bit of a culture where there's competition and people can kind of attack each other. And I don't believe in saying that a photographer is good or bad. I mean, there are people who have novice skills and people who have expert skills, but
Sure.
a photographer is a good photographer because it's coming from what they see. And I think that's something
Hmm.
that's really neat about photography itself.
That's a great rundown. That's an excellent rundown. That's I'd like to.
Thank you.
I have a couple places I'd like to quote that. uh, um, that's
Yeah,
a
go ahead. It's yours to
uh,
use.
honestly, yeah. I We could go farther down that tangent. There's a lot to say there. But let me bring it around because the reason I'm doing this is to approach the mind's eye. So if there's the eye for a photographer, there's also the eye, for every human being. And I've been personally in this place where I've realized I have a lot of ideas, and I don't know if they're all great ideas, but they the potential for them to be useful ideas is zero if I don't share them.
Okay,
And
that's an interesting perspective. I never thought about
yeah,
it like that.
yeah, like they might be useful for me and they might be fun, but what if someone else out there needs to hear it? One, two,
Hmm.
what if I'm missing something? Like I have a theory, but if I had this extra bit of information, that the theory would get better, or I'd refine it, or I'd realize I was wrong about something. um, but like,
Yes, yes.
yeah, so we bring it forward to the world to let the world interact with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the I don't know the exact saying, but as stone sharpens axe, man sharpens man. You know, we need each other and we need the power of multiple minds in order to solve challenges and creative problems and develop theories. So that makes sense that you'd want to bring those ideas into the world. And it's neat that you're willing to receive input on those and be able to expand or retract on those ideas based on the information from others. Because I feel like this day and age, that's pretty rare.
yeah, it can be. And so the way forward is to let people in a safe way present their ideas and listen to other people's ideas.
Boundaries.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, to just know, hey, I can say this, and I'm doing this with the intent of edifying and with openness to other ideas. So that's the spirit. Um, so tell me a little bit. I know you sent me a summary. of this kind of dream theory. And to put it into my own
Yeah.
words very briefly, and then I'm going to let you correct that or expand on that and tell me more. But
Ramble.
yeah, yeah. Basically, it seems like you have this idea that dreams are visions into other lives in the multiverse. So when we make decisions, um, there's this path, and we experience this one path, but what about the other paths? And that maybe dreams are interacting with that. Am I getting the gist a little bit
Yeah, I mean that's
from your
pretty
summary?
much it. Yeah, you nailed it. Pretty good. Yeah. So I this is gonna sound I've ever really talked to about this. But I had this weird, really vivid dream where I was existing in my current life, but those were just a little different. Kind of like that weird
Hey Sarah,
episode of The Simpsons
can I pause you for a
where
second?
Homer wakes up into a different universe ever, or that episode of Rick. And maybe my dreams are influenced by that, but I'm not entirely sure. So, hi again. I had this dream that I was living my current life, but things were just a bit off. My family wasn't my family. They were like robots or stand-in, have that same connection with them. And there were just little changes about them that clued me in that they did not actually exist as I knew them. And the only solution to this problem in my dream was that I had to die. I had to kill myself to get to my actual family in my reality that I had known all my life. And somehow I had ended up in a different reality. So the entire dream, I'm running around trying to figure out ways to kill myself. And I woke up with this feeling that I needed to die. And how dreams linger a bit. It lingered with me, and I woke up, and it wasn't really a dread. It was just more of like, okay, this is how the world is, and this is what needs to happen, I guess. So sometimes when I have vivid dreams, I'll kind of process them a little bit, do some Googling, whatever. And that's when I came across like the theory of the multiverse and the theory that our dreams kind of stretch out into the multiverse and give us little tastes and tidbits of the lives that we may be leading as a spirit or a soul or as an entity throughout the multiverse. So that's basically just a long, convoluted way to say it's kind of like a TV. Like you watch a TV and you're transported into that movie or into that show, and you're wholly absorbed by it. And that's kind of what the dreams are like. And so I did a little further research, and throughout history, there have been mathematical discoveries and scientific discoveries and entire theories that our current science is based on by dreams. You can look up like the theory that neurons emit electricity. That came to the guy who founded that theory. That came to him in a dream. There's another in India, and I cannot pronounce his name. I was going to try and pronounce his name, but I can't do it. I will botch it. That he had a dream in like the 1860s. He saw a red wall of blood, and a hand came out and began to write down a mathematical formula within that blood. And he woke up, and he had a mathematical theory that is still in use today, or is like one of the founding theories of mathematics. So, I mean, it just to me that the theory of the multiverse is that at an individual level, every choice you make, from the color of your shirt day or which roads to take to where you're going, splits off into another universe, and that other universe would have been the opposite choice. And so there's a multitude, an infinite number of lives and universes, and each dream you have is kind of a taste of those. And even like weird, can I cuss?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can.
You can
Okay,
say whatever you
sorry.
want. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
lot, and
Thanks
I've
for
been really
asking.
holding
Thanks for
back.
asking.
I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good.
So like even like the crazy fucked up dreams. I mean, you gotta imagine like anything in the universe is possible. If you have multitudes of universes based on decisions of the nearly 8 billion people on the planet, anything is possible. So even like the really wild, fucked up dreams you have
Hmm.
are just glimpses into another existence, I suppose. That's it. That's my theory, man.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Um,
Should I put on my
there's a
tinfoil
lot
hat
there.
now or later?
No, 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 no. Um, so here's what I think about, like theories. Like, I mean, the ones that are most useful to us now, at one point, seemed crazy. Like theories in general, right? In history, and I'm bad at
Yes.
history.
Yeah, like
I've
germ theory and washing your hands and to prevent disease was considered a
Yeah,
wild idea at the time. So yeah.
yeah. So like probably, and we're fairly young as a species and a civilization, and
Yeah.
there's even other
Yeah.
civilizations that have already existed that we don't even know everything that they knew. um,
Or
as
civilizations that have existed that we don't even know existed.
Right, absolutely, and that's just on our planet. We don't. There's so little that we know. um, oh gosh, why does this keep happening? When I cut out in video, are you still able to hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep talking and hopefully this will come back. Um, but yeah, I our assumption in the interview is that every thought is valid, and if it sounds crazy conspiratorial, it's because we're engaging in the imagination to
Mm.
a higher level than most than our average everyday conversation.
Yeah, what's that quote by gosh, it was Roosevelt's daughter, didn't she say that average people talk about other people and extraordinary people talk about ideas? I'm bad at quotes, but it's something along the lines of that. So
It's
we're just talking.
people, events, and ideas.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, and I don't personally like the idea of like ranking these kinds of people do this, these kinds of people do this. I don't like that, but I do think that there's the three levels. There are three levels, or maybe we could say dimensions. Like they're on equal plane. I'd like to say equal plane. We can talk about people. We can talk about things that happen, but we can also just talk about ideas, which
Yeah,
should,
discourse. I mean, just
yeah,
engaging with people is fine. You're right. There doesn't have to be certain levels. Not one is above the other. It's all valid.
yeah, yeah. And it's all involved. They all overlap. We have ideas about people. We have you know of events that were because of people, and the ideas are what created the events, and so. um, but yeah. Anyways, that's a long way of saying nothing's too crazy here. I have ideas that I'm certain people would think are absurd. And those are for other talks, other
Oh,
conversations.
oh boy.
But okay, but
I
let's
mean,
let's
do you
dive.
think this idea I have is crazy?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh no, I just like this is only scratching the surface of my
Oh,
wild ideas. This is just the one that's the
good.
most, I guess, the most normal. No, not the most normal. It's just the most cohesive, I guess. It's the only one I can really talk about without like
Sure.
really getting out into like the wild, wild west of imaginations and ideas. But anywho, I
Okay.
digress. Please continue.
Fair enough. No, that's fair. So let's dive a little deeper into it. Um, I have. I think I first have questions. I want to know what you think about if if these old other multiverses are happening, right? Or could have happened. Is there is a version of you conscious of it? Um, I know you said like maybe in your dreams maybe you're able to access something else, this other possibility, but how about right now where when we're not aware of it, is somebody else aware of it?
I I think so. So I've been reading a lot about the subconscious of the
Hmm.
mind and how our subconscious make snap decisions for us. And our subconscious is constantly working to survey our surroundings and to provide our brains and our bodies with information. And, if you look into the science of, the outer space or the ocean, the outer space, who the hell, sorry, own brain than we
You're
do
fine.
compared to, space. And so I feel like because we know so little about the brain, and we're kind of getting to the point in science where we know why we sleep and why we dream and how it affects our bodies and things like that, I feel like our subconscious is probably connected to the multiverse in some way. Um,
Mhm.
is aware of it because I feel like if it's possible for us in this reality to connect to the multiverse and all of those realities, then it's in their own like and in their own time and reality to connect with my reality,
Mm,
which is kind of
gotcha.
creeping me out.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
sometimes we feel like we're being watched.
Hmm.
Maybe it's another from another reality dreaming and taking a peek into this reality, so we feel like we're being viewed or watched or followed.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Do you ever, when you dream, do you usually feel like you're in your own perspective, or have you ever dreamed and become a different character?
No, it's always me. I've never I so does
Sorry, you're cutting out just a
that
little
throughout the
bit.
whole theory then? Because wait,
Hold on.
necessarily have to
Can you back up like
take
two
your time.
sentences? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just
Okay.
saying that if I was just mentioning that I always dream in first person or third person perspective. I'm either in myself or I can watch myself. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure how that would fit with this theory because, if you are watching, what is basically yourself from a different reality, there's a reality where I have tentacles for hands and fingers. So why am I not seeing tentacles? It's the brain's way of protecting itself, point where, you wake up from your dreams and you don't get the benefits of sleep. So that might punch a
Hmm.
hole in my theory right there.
Maybe. Well, rather than punch a hole, maybe it invites us to ask some clarifying questions about it. Um,
Mm.
because, for example, I've had dreams where I was another person. I had a dream where for a moment I was like the child in this, what I felt to be a Vietnamese family. Um, it was clear at least that it was in another hemisphere. And I had a sister, and our mother was calling to us from the house um, for dinner or something, I believe. But like, and I haven't had a lot of those, but I have maybe two or three dreams where I was decidedly someone not myself.
That is wild.
um,
Can't imagine. That's crazy.
yeah, isn't it? It was very beautiful dream.
I'm glad that you've
Uh,
held on to that. That's a good dream memory to have. So I'm glad that you still got that, because all the time. I mean, even when we don't remember them, we are still having them. And so many good dreams have been forgotten.
I agree. I started writing down dreams. I don't write every single one down that I have, but
Mm.
I do pretty regularly. Probably more often than most people do, at least.
So, yeah, I've heard that that actually helps you to retain the memorization of the dream and to actually, I think that's like a technique used to learn lucid dreaming, is when you begin to write down your dreams, then you're more consciously aware that you are in a dream and you can begin to control things. things,
Correct.
which also does not fit within my theory, because how are you controlling things if you're just viewing another universe in reality?
Correct. Um, yeah, it's. I mean, it's pretty. It raises some different questions for sure. And lucid dreaming is a fascinating study, and
Mm.
a fascinating practice. I've done it a few times, but here's I'll introduce some dream theory that I have to yours, and
Please.
I have this theory that we have multiple kinds of dreams, like there's genres of dreams.
Hmm.
Um, because you know how like a common idea about what dreams are that they're like us processing memories from our day. Have you ever heard
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so in that sense, our mind is just like we're asleep, so our senses are, not engaged in the same way. So we're taking
Mm.
everything we've experienced and we're trying to just, while we're processing it, our minds creating these weird stories out of all that information.
Yeah, yeah. And just trying to
Right?
kind of piece together the information it's learned, like a little
Yeah.
computer up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's like computer memory storage dreams.
basically.
um,
Yeah,
and that's one. So I would call that one genre. And then like I don't know what kind of dream mine was, where I was another person.
yeah.
Um, maybe maybe that was my consciousness latching on to somebody else's multiverse for a second.
Interesting. Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know. Don't know. um,
Okay, but what if like okay, so in the science, in biology, in the study of cells, um there's, okay, I'm getting off on a tangent, but it
you're
might be
okay.
important.
Go for
So
it. Yeah.
when when a woman has a child, there is a certain amount of cells that are left in her body from, and the same thing for the child. There's a certain amount of the mother cell left in that child all the way up until like they're 45 or 50 years old. There's a certain percentage of cells from each of those once paired bodies that are in there. Yeah, right. So what if like your dream as a Vietnamese child was somehow related to like an ancestral link? Like maybe you have an unknown ancestor that existed, at that time and at that place, and you were somehow being linked to that. And that
Whoa.
ties into the cells because, we are basically bits and pieces of all of our ancestors. So maybe there's something left over that's triggering you into that.
Whoa. That's crazy thought. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. What if? So if there are cells like mother cells and ancestral cells, like bits and pieces of us that are still linked to however many generations back, can can we have like consciousness cells, consciousness mother cells that connect us to other people's to other lines?
I don't see why not. I mean, there's the science isn't there yet, but it will be one
Right.
day. One day we'll map the entire brain and we'll know everything about this crazy thing up here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, only time will tell.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for whatever it will tell us. um, so all of that was to say maybe there is a genre of dream that is multiverse
Yes.
jumping.
Okay, yeah. So maybe you don't multiverse jump every night. Maybe some nights you are just processing your thoughts, or maybe some nights you are just like reliving the past or working through fears, like the recurrent dreams. I have recurrent dreams where there is an active tornado on the ground and I'm screaming at people to take shelter and nobody's listening. Or the dream
Cool.
where you're driving and you lose control of your car, or you're trying to punch but you have no force, or you're trying to yell but you have no voice. So maybe working through fear and processing your day are genres, and then maybe sometimes we jump into the multiverse. Those are probably the fucked up dreams. Those are probably the,
Yeah.
the real fucked up, like tentacle hand.
Right. Right. Yeah, well, and the most fucked up ones are probably some of the more interesting ones, like the most drastically different from the one we're
Mhm.
walking through. And so that might be why our consciousness takes special interest in those. It's like, whoa, that's that's a crazy way that things could have gone. Let's explore that.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like those dreams, the ones where they're similar to the reality you have now and you feel like you are this person in your body experiencing, okay, so like I have this one dream and it's a recurrent
Mhm.
dream, and in this universe I can fly. Nobody else can fly, but I can, and I'm trying to teach everybody to fly. And it's as simple as swimming.
Mhm.
You just lift your arms and you wave them and you kick and you're swimming air. And that one always feels very visceral. It feels very real. And
Hmm.
I would like to think that one is just me in another universe trying to teach motherfuckers how to fly. But I mean, or it could be my subconscious telling me to, move more in the community and try to, lend a hand to people. Or I don't know.
Hmm. I like that. It might be. It might be, and regardless, what's kind of cool is that regardless of if that's what's actually happening, it's like we don't have to know exactly why for the dream to still be useful and for you to I mean either useful just because it's interesting or because you learn something from it or you're able to analyze it symbolically and make some kind of conclusion about your life. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I've never done. I've never really analyzed my dreams, and I think maybe I should start. Like this conversation has brought to light some new ideas about the dreams that I have, so I'm start writing most of them down or something.
yeah, yeah, you totally should. um it's like I definitely don't believe every dream means something, but there are certain ones that it does feel like something's trying to be communicated to me. Like, um
Yeah, yeah. Like the
from
ones that linger all day.
yeah, yeah, it's like it's either myself trying to tell myself something or whatever other forces are involved. um I don't I don't think that our dreams I don't personally think that our dreams are an entirely um closed off um place that I do think that there's still room for influence in our dreams from other energies.
Oh, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not a restricted area. It's not
Yeah.
quarantined. It's, I mean, your subconscious has the powerful ability to take every single teeny tiny little bit of information around it and store it for use later so that your active brain is absorb every single sensory stimuli around you and get overwhelmed and you just turn into a puddle of goo and twitch on the ground. So, yeah, I think it's definitely our dreams are very much influenced by past experiences, by, current experiences, by, our thoughts, our imagination, our interactions, all of that plays a part in our dreams, definitely.
So do you see them as a possibly interactive place? Like, do you think you could ever meet somebody else in a dream? Like, could two people
So,
meet in one dream or something? Is that too crazy?
okay, so like an actual person that exists already, like kind of like
Yeah.
both of you are lucid dreaming and you both decide to meet up and have coffee in a dream.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Well, I'm not gonna say it's impossible because who the hell knows, but I mean, I feel like that would be some like next level borderline extraterrestrial shit right there.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's a multiverse in which it's possible, even if not this one.
Yeah. So like, did you
I
have
think
you
that.
ever met a random person in your dream and you felt a connection with that random person in your dream that you've never met in real life.
Mm.
And then like the memory of them and the loss of them from that dream kind of sits with you for a day or two, and you sort of feel like this weird grief for this,
Yes.
this person you met in a dream that doesn't actually exist.
Yes.
So maybe we can meet up. Maybe that's somebody in the multiverse or throughout our past trying to connect with us or something.
Sure. Um, yeah, because
Yeah.
maybe the reason there is that grief that feels just as real is because like we think it's a person we made up in our dream, but like it doesn't have to be. We don't know for sure that it isn't, that
Yeah.
they aren't their own entity.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it'd be hard to prove either way, of course, but there is the feeling um,
Mhm.
that like, oh, I think I met someone. Uh,
Yeah.
it's those are some of my favorite dreams.
Yeah, not mine. The
No.
last one I had was several years ago, and it was just really heavy. I just felt
Mm.
like I just I lost somebody very important, and I
Oh.
couldn't figure out, you know, how to get them back. And that one really lingered. That
Mm.
one was like a good week where I'd wake up and just feel like somebody had died and I would never see them again. And I'd had this very intense connection. I mean, it wasn't romantic or anything. It was just a deep love for this
Excuse
this entity.
me. Mm-hmm.
And then they were gone. So I
Wow.
couldn't even tell you what this person in my dream looked like or their characteristics. I couldn't tell you anything about them. It was just something or somebody that was very meaningful to me, and I was very meaningful to that thing or person or whatever too. I don't know. I'm rambling again.
Wow. No, this is all relevant. I think. Just I
That's rare.
really,
I'm relevant.
yes, you are absolutely 100% relevant. How could you not be relevant to your own theory?
Well, I just talk a lot of shit, William. Most of what I'm saying right now is just right off the top of my head.
um, no, I think it all plays a part. I think that I mean, obviously, like you said, this is such an unexplored place. Like the mind and awareness and consciousness is still, we know next to nothing.
Mm.
So to I'm happy even to just gather one more person's collection of dream experiences, the things that have stood out to you about dreams, um, and then to pair that
Yeah,
with
yeah,
my other friends who have had crazy dreams, beautiful dreams, month long dreams.
yeah.
I've heard
Huh.
everything, and it's like, so if in one place you could gather the biggest like variety of types of dreams in one place and say, and then take your theory and say how can we account for all these experiences that people have while they sleep?
Mm.
Like what explains all of that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, is it just like the individual mind? Because I mean, we're all very similar, but we're all very different. Each
Mhm.
human has base characteristics. We have nature versus nurture. We have, our a genetic profile. We have, certain behavioral patterns that are characteristics of, where we grew up, how we grew up, et cetera, et cetera. Um,
Mhm.
but we're also unique in that have our own individual experiences and ideas, and our brains kind of make connections and have ideas and run with our imagination in a very unique way. So are are our dreams so wildly different in their patterns and their content because of that, or are they wildly different because we are all experiencing different multiverses? The more I talk about this, the
Wow.
dumber it seems. I'm just
Oh
gonna be
no.
honest with you.
Well, we're
Oh,
really
jeez.
it's fun picking apart. I love doing it. And you know what, there's nothing wrong with feeling that way about an idea.
No, I feel that way all the time about a lot of things. I'm used to it. It's no big
Me
deal.
too. Me too. Uh, Anybody listening to this in the future, this is not live or anything, but anybody listening to this in the future, I'm sure you can relate. Start talking about something,
Yeah.
somebody starts
Well, I
asking
can
you a
still
lot of
relate. It
questions.
humanized.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so okay, let me, if you'll allow me, let me poke at that feeling. Then let's if it's starting to feel dumber, what about it? I mean, that's basically saying, oh, like, I don't know how it explains that or how it explains that. Like, if you had to go back and let's say you had a good month, like, of where you could just go and focus on this. Let's say someone gave you a grant. They were like, hey, we want you to expand on this theory of yours. Um, and you got to kind of just forget your other responsibilities for a month and do whatever research you wanted.
Yeah.
What are the ways in which you would take these thoughts you've already had and expand on them or change them? Like in this moment, what are what would you go on exploring about dreams if you could, and if you had all the resources available to you that you could?
I think it's just studying deeper into the brain. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and expanding upon the theory itself, you would really need to flesh it out and you would need to find the weakest points because any theory or any idea is only as strong as its weakest point. So, how I said I feel dumber just talking about this is because I'm realizing there's a lot of points that don't quite fit with my idea of how this is or exists or what have you, which is a good thing. I mean, ignorance is a
Mm-hmm.
good thing because then you can learn and you can build on it. So I would likely, flesh out the weak points first, and then I would gather every freaking neuroscientist I could and every astronomer I could and just put them all in a room together and just feed them endless supplies of coffee and snacks and be like, okay, let's study up, kids, and just see what would happen. If I could gather every top neuroscientist and every top astronomer in the entire world and make them sit in the same room for a month, I bet we could figure some shit out.
Yeah, and it could be. I mean, that could be. Imagine the kind of world changing potential of the ideas that came out of that could come out of that. Maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, we could maybe selectively travel to certain places within the multiverse, or maybe like connect with people, who are deceased and kind of see. Because I mean, this dream theory kind of ties in my theory of life, where you don't really die. Like your physical shell dies, your body dies, it goes back to the earth, etc. But
Mm,
the spirit or soul or whatever you want to call it within you lives
mm,
on, whether it's a heaven or a hell or a different universe or a different timeline or a chronosynclastic infundibulum like Kurt Vonnegut mentioned. It exists somewhere out there. And so we could use that science and that technology and what we learned to maybe, talk to great great grandpa who used to give you the best advice and you really need him now more than ever, kind of thing. So I don't
oh,
know. I think that would maybe be one of the best gifts. So we would never lose that knowledge of our that our ancestors had. We'd never lose the knowledge of our lineage and our existence. And who's to say we couldn't connect with, you know, people in the far future? And if we had the technology to explore the multiverse, then I feel like we could better humanity. We could see how other places exist, and it would kind of take us out of this weird human bubble we live in where we fight with each other, and your enemy is usually another human. It could maybe bring us together, like, okay, we are an entity in and of itself, we are a species, and we need to come together and be cohesive as like a big giant family earth planet you know existence and do better. But That's just wishful thinking.
Uh, nothing wrong with wishful thinking, right? Again,
No,
like,
I mean, I guess not.
uh, not not at all,
Want one hand,
because
getting the other. That's what my mama used to say. And my phone,
exactly.
my phone is gonna die, so I have to
Oh,
plug you in. Hold on a second.
great, no problem.
What time is it, William?
It is 4:50. How much time do you have?
I have 10 minutes before I have to start dinner.
Excellent. Cool, cool, cool.
Okay,
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about time. Good.
that's
Okay.
okay.
I love where we've gotten to. I think that last little monologue about the potential of these kinds of ideas is, I think, amazing, and well said. It points to, it's basically saying, hey, like, and this is what I see behind your theory, the theory that you brought to me. What I see behind it is, hey, we have access to, we consciously or subconsciously have access to information or events or ideas or something beyond what's right in front of us.
Mm.
It says perhaps the boundaries we think our awareness has are non-existent, or they're expandable. We can
Yeah, yeah.
push through them, or they're more malleable or blurry than we think.
Right, right.
And so maybe there's this myriad of mental, I don't want to say powers, but like abilities, sure, powers, whatever. Just like that, that if people expounded upon them, um, first of all, learned that something was possible, and then second, learned how to get better at it.
Mm.
Like if you can, if you can communicate with somebody who is no longer physically here, or you
Mhm.
can communicate with the past or the future. Okay, great. Step one. Okay, how do we do it again? How is that repeatable? And then how do we develop it as a skill?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Th-
going to be like
those
a muscle. You're going to have to work it out in order to get, the strength to lift and to be able to go and kind of do it at will. Yeah, I imagine it would be a lot like that because it's still, I mean, even if we could travel the multiverse and experience these other realities and travel through time, we're still going to be limited by our physical form. And I mean, you can imagine how exhausting that would be. Imagine if you were able to lucid dream into the past or into a different universe. I mean, your body would be exhausted.
maybe
I don't know. Yeah.
maybe yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and it seems like such a crazy question to ask. Like, can we work on these skills? And right now, a lot of people would say no, that's crazy. But
Yeah.
there are credible people out there that would
Yes.
say all the stuff that we've talked about right now are not crazy. um, I'll give you a name. His name is Russell Targ. Have you heard of him?
No.
Um, his work is not necessarily dream related, but it is, I would say, consciousness related. So uh, he did a lot of research on extrasensory perception, things
Okay.
like remote viewing
Yeah.
and our influence on random number generators, like stuff like that.
Huh.
He's got numbers, and the CIA paid him to work on stuff for like 20 something years.
What?
Like this guy's ideas are real, his research is real. um and it's public, like his work is public, and I bring him
Would you,
up because
yeah, would you be willing to send me, because
yes,
I probably won't remember because
that's
I'm
okay.
old and ADD, so forgive me. But yeah, if you could send me that, that is very much up my alley. I'm very much
Yeah,
into, exploring, brain research and,
yeah.
figuring out, neurological quirks and queries. So
mm,
I like that.
you
I
might
did
like
not
it.
know this existed. I'm kind of excited
Yeah,
now.
yeah. So I mean, and that research has to do with us here in the waking life.
Hmm.
So imagine we've been imagining the dream world where our consciousness is not so limited by our body.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
imagine the potential there. Very interesting thing about. I'll send you a link, and I'll put a link in this video
Thank you. I appreciate
for
it.
anyone watching. Yeah, for sure. You have like 5 minutes, yes?
Yeah, yeah, probably about that.
Okay. If you let's see if I can come up with a good kind of final question here. I mean, you kind of already answered it. I was gonna ask where you think this has the most potential to help people. But I think you already answered that, unless you have more to say specifically on that.
For once in my life, I don't think I have more to say on that specifically. I hope you're
Okay.
impressed.
Okay. And then so my last question would be if you could work and collaborate with one person, like just one person on this idea that you think could bring the most to the table
Yeah.
and develop it, who do you think that would be?
Man, okay, so I racked my brain on this one,
Yeah.
and I could like I read a lot of biographies and autobiographies about people that were influential throughout history. Like I've read Tesla's biography, I've read
Mm.
Marie Curie's biography. Yeah, and like I'm trying to think of who would be the best with this specific theory, and my mind just keeps going back to Carl Sagan because of his
Mm.
knowledge of space, and I feel like he would not think I'm crazy if I brought this idea to him, but I feel also that I would only understand half of what he's saying, and I would just have to nod and smile the entire time. But I feel like that would be a beneficial conversation to have, kind of like this one where we've sort of gone off on all these different avenues of what if, and we've kind of, played with the imagination aspect of this and kind of poked holes in it and tried to solve, tried to patch those holes with reason. So I think Carl Sagan would probably do a pretty good job. And that's probably a pretty like quintessential nerdy answer, but that's the one I've got for you.
That's great. No, I think we fun. That would be a fun interview to watch, or a fun dialogue to watch. Um,
Oh, jeez.
Excellent. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you sharing your mind. Um, if you have further ideas in the future, you should let me know.
Oh boy. Don't even get me started on Mars, okay? Mars is a weird place. You don't even want to know what happened on Mars 1.5 billion years ago, okay? We're all actually aliens. That's the scoop,
Yes.
honey. That's all there is. Okay, but yeah, this actually has been fairly delightful. I was nervous, but you have a calming presence and good
Oh,
vocabulary and good ideas, so thanks for talking with me.
that means a lot to hear. I really appreciate that. This has been a pleasure. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, signing off.
thank you
Thank you
again.
much.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye, Sarah.